The weather's about to get very interesting across the United States as we are going to have a couple of different large storms over the next 7 days impacting the country, which will bring the potential for a little bit more severe weather today, heavy rainfall that could lead to some flooding, the first snowfall of the season across parts of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast, where we even could see a winter storm later this week, and also a rare bomb cyclone off the coast of Washington and Oregon that is expected to be one of the most intense storms that we've seen so far this year in the Pacific Ocean. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 to 10 days. And let's begin with the large storm that is currently sitting over the Midwest this morning. This is actually bringing some showers across parts of the Midwest, a little bit of snowfall as well on the northwest side of that trough, impacting areas in North Dakota. Overall, not really anything super heavy, but there will be a little bit of accumulating snowfall today back over North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. And then on the further southern part here of this cold front that is moving through, you'll notice there's actually deepening convection down along the Gulf Coast. And this is actually interesting because we have both some severe weather that's been occurring with this back over in Mississippi and Louisiana, but right here is actually the remnants of Sarah. If you remember, Tropical Storm Sarah that was impacting areas like Honduras actually went through the Yucatan Peninsula, is now in the Gulf of Mexico. It's no longer a named storm, but this is the remnants of what's left. So lots of moisture now being basically absorbed by this large-scale trough, and eventually as we go into tonight, into tomorrow, this will be moving in the direction of Florida, where there will be a potential for an inch or two of rain in some spots due to the remnants of Sarah. So pretty interesting stuff there. And then back over on the west coast, we have a bomb cyclone forming, which essentially means a deepening low pressure system that drops 24 millibars over a 24-hour time frame. And this is expected to be the strongest storm that we've seen, or at least one of the strongest storms that we've seen in the Pacific Ocean this entire year. Now, I say a lot of things are crazy, but this is easily the craziest thing I've seen in the weather world this entire year. And that's saying a lot, by the way. We've had a lot of crazy things this year. This right here is a low pressure system that is just west of Oregon and Washington, which will be impacting the Pacific Northwest over the next couple of days. Notice the pressure is at 998 millibars. 24 hours from now, this is going to be down to a low pressure of 942 millibars, maybe even a little bit lower than that. That is about a 60 millibar pressure drop over the span of 24 hours. For what it's worth, a bomb cyclone, what that basically means is that we have a pressure drop of 24 millibars in 24 hours. This is over 2 times faster than that in terms of pressure, and also the speed of it's going to be dropping. So that's pretty incredible to say the least. This is basically the equivalent here of a category 4 hurricane when it comes to pressure. It's not going to be bringing category 4 winds, but this is obviously significant. There could even be some wave heights upwards of 70 feet just off the coast of Washington and Oregon. So this is really crazy, and this is an atmospheric river that is going to penetrate tons of rain and snow into the Pacific Northwest over the next few days. What this means for areas east of the Rocky Mountains, well, nothing imminently, but if a piece of this does cut off as we go into the weekend, we could see some snow maybe over in the Midwest and the northern plains, which we'll talk more about here in just a moment. The weather pattern is going to be changing quite a bit over the next few days. We are going to have a large-scale trough forming back over in the Midwest, and what this is basically going to do is 2 different things, one of which it's going to bring colder air out of Canada, so this strong northwesterly flow in the jet stream is going to allow for much colder weather to usher in for much of the United States. Here's the other thing, though, it's going to bring over the next few days, really by the tail end of this week into the weekend. This trough is just going to be a large spinning area of low pressure, and what that's eventually going to bring is the potential for some snowfall, perhaps even some lake effect snow back over in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. So this is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to watch for if you're back over in the Northeast or the Ohio Valley, where we could see some snowfall, which means if you are a skier, we could even see some skiing conditions maybe as we go into this weekend. Now here's what we're looking at in terms of the future radar over the next few days. Let's begin first with what's happening here on the southern side of this entire large-scale trough that we have here. Again, this is where we're going to have the potential for some heavy rain today that could lead to some flooding, especially along the Gulf Coast, so turn around, don't drown on the roadways. Rain will continue across the Midwest today. It'll eventually move to the north. Drier air and colder air is going to usher in. This is where that colder air is going to be tonight. It's eventually going to move into the southern plains and the Ohio Valley by tomorrow, so you're going to start to feel that colder weather really start to usher in by then. As we go into Wednesday, Wednesday morning, some snow will be falling in the northern plains, and then as we go into Wednesday night, we might see a little bit of snow in Michigan, but at this point, I think it's going to be more of a mixed precipitation that we're going to be seeing up there because the temperatures are going to be flirting there in the mid-30s. So this will be something to watch for. Right now, it looks like mixed precipitation for Michigan. If that does change, we're going to have another video talking about this tomorrow, more in detail about the snow potential, so make sure you're subscribed down below. Notice how that colder air will usher in, so that's going to bring some cold air to much of the Ohio Valley, which should cool things down enough to the point where we're going to get some level of snow here as we go into Thursday. There are a few areas that I want you to pay attention to, one of which is Wisconsin, Illinois, and also western Michigan around that First Low Pressure Center. We could also see some snow falling back over in areas like Ohio and West Virginia, and then eventually as we go later into Thursday into Friday, we could even see this really start to ramp up back over in New England if a new low pressure center forms. If that ends up happening, we definitely have another chance for some snow back over in areas like New York, Pennsylvania, and then also as far south as Kentucky. So this will definitely be something to watch for. The GFS model actually shows snow being as far south as far northern Georgia in the higher elevations. So that's definitely something to watch for, again, if you're looking forward to some snow here. Again, the 2 days really I'd be watching for are Thursday and Friday. By the time we go into Saturday, this low pressure system will start to move to the northeast. A little bit of snow still remaining in the higher elevations. And then by the time we go into Sunday into Monday, things do become a little bit more uncertain. But again, if that bomb cyclone breaks a little bit here, we could see a little disturbance in the Midwest that could bring a mix of some rain and snowfall. But again, at this point, that's still well over 6 days out, so this is a little bit more uncertain at this time. I do want you to take this with a grain of salt, but this is the snowfall accumulation according to the GFS model here over the next few days. I would have to go ahead and say that this is pretty unlikely at this point that we're going to see somewhere around 12 to 18 inches of snow. That would have to be purely heavy snow falling here in northern Michigan, but I do think there's a good chance here across the Ohio Valley and also parts of Illinois and Wisconsin that we are at least going to see somewhere in the ballpark of a coating to a couple of inches of snow. But again, if the temperature is even 2 to 3 degrees warmer than it's currently forecasted to be, this could easily change, so just keep that in mind. Again, take it with a grain of salt, even the low snowfall accumulation totals. We'll have a more detailed video breaking this down more in detail tomorrow, but it doesn't look like any sort of snowfall here will be causing the potential for significant travel impacts. Maybe northern Michigan, but again, I think that's still a little bit of a stretch right now. Now, back over in the Ohio Valley and also the Northeast, this is where we have the potential for a more robust snow potential event here, including areas anywhere from New York and Vermont back into the Appalachian Mountains. Really, the Appalachian Mountains are the one area that I'm pretty confident that we are going to see significant snowfall in, probably somewhere in the ballpark of at least 4 to 8 inches of snow, maybe in some spots picking up 12 inches of snow. The Ohio Valley, again, this is still a question mark. Again, a small temperature change could change this entire thing, but I do think there's a good chance there a coating to maybe a couple inches of snow will be possible Thursday into Friday. And then back over into Pennsylvania and New York, that is also still questionable purely due to the fact that a small change to the forecast could make a major difference between you seeing potentially feet of snow or no snow at all. So again, tomorrow in our video, we're going to talk more in detail, I think, about the snow potential, as long as there is still a potential there. If it isn't really still there, we'll probably still have a video. It just won't be mainly focused on the snow threat. Now, over the next several days, we're also going to see a lot of rainfall across much of the country. This large storm that continues to grow in size, at least it's becoming more elongated. We are going to see a lot of rainfall out of this. Again, the main corridors for rainfall that could be significant would be right along the Gulf Coast, where there could be some spots today picking up 4 to 8 inches of rain, and then back over in the Midwest and as well as maybe the northern Ohio Valley, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain will be possible there. Ohio, West Virginia, not going to see much, but there will be enough rainfall there to at least put a small dent into the drought. And then back over in New England, there's probably going to be a good amount of rainfall there, especially as we get closer to the weekend. Notice back over here on the West Coast, by the way, that atmospheric river event is going to bring some areas upwards to a foot of rainfall, especially in Northern California over the next 5 days. So significant rain expected there along the West Coast. Another big thing that's coming is the cold blast, and this is going to bring some nice cool weather to areas like the Ohio Valley and Northeast, which is going to allow for the potential for some snow. This will also dive down into the East Coast and the Southeast. Areas like Florida are going to feel some pretty drastic changes as we go into Friday. Some areas, by the way, in Florida could have wind chills into the upper 30s as we go into Friday morning. So it's going to get pretty chilly. This is what the temperature anomalies look like, which is the difference from average in terms of temperatures. You'll notice that many areas around or just below average, anywhere from the northern plains back over along the East Coast as we go into Thursday. And eventually by Friday morning, that's going to be pretty much the coldest morning, I think, of the entire week for most areas, with many areas around 10 to 15 degrees below average, anywhere from the Ohio Valley back into the Southeast. And eventually as we go into Saturday, it continues, especially down in Florida, where many areas could be as much as 20 degrees below average for low temperatures. That is pretty crazy for this time of the year. And eventually, as we go into next week, things are going to start to return a little bit more back to normal for at least what we've been seeing this so far this fall, with many areas upwards of 10 to 20 degrees above average from the Ohio Valley all the way back through the southern plains. And a huge announcement before we end today's video, I do want to mention that we now have a second YouTube channel. The link is at the top of the description. Make sure to go subscribe to it. The reason why we have a second channel is it's going to be more used for some of our educational content, and in some cases more detailed weather forecasts on very specific areas that we wouldn't usually upload on this channel. And there's also going to be an occasional live stream, maybe like a forecast live stream that I wouldn't do on the main channel. So just a couple of things that we're going to try to put over there. Again, it's not going to be super consistent or frequent, but we'll have some videos there occasionally for more specific detailed breakdowns. So make sure to go subscribe down below. It is the top link in the description, or at more max velocity.